Says, welcome to our little sofa. Good to see you. This was meant to be a new age election. Twitter, broadband, bloggers, the new age. It's actually turned out to be an old steam television campaign.
No, absolutely, and everyone's following. The press are following as well, which has irked them so much that Rebecca Brooks and James Murdoch went marching into the Independent office because of the headline saying Murdoch won't decide, you will. And of course Nick Clegg was high in the polls after that first debate, so it irked the print so much that they went off fighting with another newspaper to sort of, you know...
So TV back with a vengeance.
TV's definitely back with a vengeance, and I just think the defining characteristic of the 2010 election will be television. Absolutely. That first debate where Nick Clegg just suddenly came on like this knight in shining armour.
Or Susan Boyle.
Yeah, well, slightly more attractive than Susan Boyle. That's an awful thing to say.
But it was a Susan Boyle moment,
It was
wasn't
absolutely a Susan Boyle moment, but he was... I sat there, and I've met Nick, I've interviewed him, but he hasn't been given a voice. And then suddenly, and he stood there with a swagger, his hand in his pocket. It was very, very impressive. I mean, student girls were swooning all over the country, and more young people signed up to vote following that first debate.
Why were the debates so successful?
I think they allowed politicians to talk about policy for 90 minutes without yourself excluded. But there are certain presenters.
I knew you were going to say that. I didn't interrupt you, though.
No. Well, exactly. No, you just did there.
I know.
No, but who put on a sort of song and dance routine, and it becomes a bit more about them and less about the politics. And you know, I really take against the criticism that these TV debates have trivialised it, and it's all boiled down to 3 TV shows, because actually the intentness with which people watch 3 people talk about policy for 90 minutes,
not process,
uninterrupted,
not process,
I think is quite remarkable.
Michael, do you agree?
Yes, I do. I'm kind of amused because, of course, you know, these TV debates have reached us 50 years after they reached the United States. And we thought we were going to have a campaign in which, like Barack Obama, you know, the word would be spread amongst young people over the new media, and the money would come in that way. And that's not happened. So maybe we'll have an election like that in 50 years' time.
Well, you say 50 years. People forget that there were no debates after 1960 till 1976. Right, yes. So there weren't always the case. I would suggest, though, Fiona, that we won't get away with that. Debates are...
Oh, you can't go back now. But I think that in the States there's a far more rigorous procedure that precedes the debates. I mean, the campaign goes on from January through to November. You get the primaries, the party conventions before the debates, so there's a far more rigorous procedure anyway. I mean, we've had the debate upon which we're supposed to judge these leaders.
But remember, our politicians, and you know this, Caroline, our politicians are more used to debating than American politicians.
Yes, I think they
American politicians don't have to do Prime Minister's questions. They don't even have to do ministerial questions.
And they don't even have, I mean, question time. I think when I've talked to David Dimbleby before, he said to me that they looked to have it in America, but they said none of their politicians would ever do a show like that. I think the thing about the TV debates is, regardless of what everyone says about Twitter and online, the fact is they are the most accessible medium for most people in this country. And the other thing about the online debates and all the discussion about whether we'd have more of a Barack Obama campaign, the difference is that, you know, that was running from the point at which he was seeking to be a candidate all the way through that presidential. We've had a short campaign, and for a short campaign in this election, TV has been the one point.
We only have about a minute. Amanda, I mean, the point is now, I don't think any party can afford to pick a leader who cannot do well in these debates.
There's
that's the point Michael, I think, was going to make.
The other point I was going to say was, I think this week we're finding there's a knock-on effect of the debates, which is the live speech is suddenly making a comeback. You know, the public oratory.
I mean, the televisual is now vital. I mean, it's the Tories think Mr. Cameron's televisual. He's in every Tory election PEB.
No, but then if
Mr. Brown's not in one of them.
No, but then David Cameron should be doing far better than he is if that were the case. And George Bush would never have been United States president if the TV debate and the television and how he performed in that decided he was going to be Prime Minister or President.
It's going to be hard not to be televisual now for our campaigns.
I think so. A big Labour supporter, Matthew Taylor, said the question this week that people would ask in the future was, how did Labour go into this campaign with someone who couldn't communicate with the public? And I don't think they'll let it happen again.
OK, we're going to have to leave it. Thanks to you all. It is exciting, isn't it?
It's very exciting.
The most interesting campaign I've ever covered. Since the one between Gladstone and Disraeli. Or was it Robert Peel? Anyway, that's it for this week for the campaign of 2010. When we meet again a week on Thursday at our regular time, we may well have a new Prime Minister. Or we may not. Indeed, we might not have a Prime Minister at all. That's why it's all so exciting. The most unpredictable election in living memory. We'll leave you tonight with some of our favourite images from the past few weeks. Nighty-night